Okay, hello everybody. I'm going to start off explaining a little bit about HTTP essentials, and I'll try to give you some insight about how client and server side applications are working from Studio, from the apps we're going to develop here. So I want to start with something very basic, and it's HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol, and all it means that you have a client here. So this could be your laptop, your computer, your tablet, and you're going to be using some type of browser. And whenever you load a page, the browser is going to request um, using an address, or what we typically call URL, to the server. And the server will respond accordingly, downloading your page and all your content and all your information. So the HTTP has two methods. First one is get. Get is typically used just to pretty much get information or get a resource from the server. It's not really used for storing information. A get will be used to download all the logos and all the information and all the paragraphs and everything from the server, all the resources. And it's not really used for saving information. For saving information, let's say when you register on a website, you're going to use post. So post is going to be like you're going to sign up in the forum. So you're going to write all your information, your email, your username, and your password. So this is going to be sent as a post request. You're gonna do a post request and send your information in some type of format, and the server will respond. Thank you for your registration. So I want to give you a couple of examples of how this really works. So I'll give you a typical request. Get. So get, and here's this is my local server, and I'm gonna request this resource, this image. The server is going to respond, and it's going to respond some type of binary format that the browser will receive, and it will understand as the logo for the little application we're going to use. Now, a post request, we're going to send it over to some type of URL, and typically the response is going to be in Studio's example, it's going to be usually JSON. So just posted requesting the list of products. So that will be typically what you do, like in a live variable or something like that. And this format size, if you look into it, it's very straightforward. You have these curly braces showing all the objects. So ID product 1, it's a bagel and it costs 5. ID product 2, it's a donut and it costs 3. Number 3 is a hamburger, and so on and so forth. So this is JSON. It's just the format of sending data from client to server. Now, this post request that we just did, it didn't really store information, but here's an example of actually storing information using post. So I'm going to do a post request, and I'm going to call this URL or this service, call it new, and I am going to send a JSON object in here. So I'm going to be writing to this database, and I have a Java class object that is exposed, and I'm not going to send an ID because the database, it's going to be auto-numeric, but it's going to be an ice cream, and it's going to be the price 15, and it's going to be inserting, and we're going to have this here. So the server will receive that information, and it's going to produce a response. So the response is it's going to be ID number 5. It's not responding anything with a list of received products. We'll talk a little bit of this later. And the product is named ice cream and 15. So it pretty much said, okay, here's your object back, and here's the ID of the object that inserted in the database. So having this information is very useful on Studio. So this is a really basic example of requests, responses, posts, and get methods. So these things where we did these post methods, the list, post list, and the post method for new, these are typically called services in Studio. And I would like you guys to make a difference here. JavaScript invokes the service call, probably using a service variable. So there's something in JavaScript that makes this post request, and then the server will execute the Java code and do whatever it needs to be done. So JavaScript is a language that runs inside the client's computer, and the client side has pretty much all the control over it. And whereas the server side uses Java, and this code is secured. This is the client is not able to see this. So there's some people that confuse that JavaScript is the same thing as Java, and it really isn't. JavaScript is a client-side code, and the client has all the access to modify it and view it, and the Java is what we store on the server. So a little bit more about these requests and responses. So you typically request content, some type of resource. So here's a request header for an example. Here we say that it'll accept these types of formats if it has them, and these headers pretty much say where it has to go, what's the browser, the size of what it needs, and this is very big because some applications can make their own headers with this X requested. This is not a standard. Typically, applications use them. But what I want to talk about is that there's something called content negotiation here. So I request some resource and I want it in this format, and the server responded, this is what you're receiving. And most of the cases we're going to be talking about is going to be JSON because it's an integral part of Studio. So don't worry too much about this. It's just a way to explain a little bit that when you're requesting something, there can be very many versions of things. Just imagine the picture we just saw a while ago. You can see the crude object, but then you can have it encoded like a picture or have it encoded as many other things. So there are different representations. The proper word for this is representations of the same object. So let's go for a demo. I'm going to be using Firefox and a plugin called Firebug to actually see this in action. So here we are in Firefox and in Firebug, and I have an application here. So we're going to activate the Firebug console. I'm going to clear it right now, and we're going to go to the products item here. So you can see right now that it's doing a GET request. It's getting a lot of JavaScript files that it's storing in the browser, and we have a post request here. So this post request, if we see the post request, it just says get me a list of products here, and the response is the JSON object, and this JSON object is feeding this grid right here. So that's a very simple post request. We're not really sending information to save, but it is actually just requesting information, and this is the JSON object that we're receiving. Well, it's actually a list of items of five products. So I'm going to clear the console. We're going to do new. We're going to make a new product. Let's just call this chewing gum, and the price is going to be 1.25. Now when I press save, it's going to do a post request. Well, actually, there were two because this one was reloaded the list. So let's take a look at the post here. It's going to insert data. This is going to call this class, this Java class, and here are the parameters. It's going to go. It will save into this database. It's going to be calling chewing gum, and here's the information. It's going to insert it, and it just put some ID in there. And the response, it sent me the item back, but it actually the database auto increment actually named it number 6. So after it's saved, I received another post request here, and this is just reloading the product list so I can actually see the chewing gum here. If I weren't doing this second post request, I wouldn't see the chewing gum in this data grid right here. So I hope that was helpful to try to understand what I'm trying to explain here. So now I'm pretty sure most of you guys are not familiar with all of these terms. You might hear them in the forum and all that. So I just put this together here. So for a client side, a client will typically use Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer, Opera, or Safari. and these will be used to connect to some type of Tomcat server. Could be any version of Tomcat server. And what the Tomcat server does, it contains our application. The Tomcat server is a container where we put our applications in there. And the client side is going to be using JS. This stands for JavaScript. So it's the server side code that invokes those service calls, and it's what we're seeing in Firebug. All those get and post requests and all that can be done using JavaScript, and the Tomcat is run using Java. The version of Studio is Java 1.7. As for now, I don't see that it's supporting 1.8, but I would really like somebody in the forum that would point me the way how to achieve Studio to be upgraded to version 8. And the Dojo toolkit, these are the widgets we have been using. So if we go over here, all of these text boxes and buttons and dialog boxes and grid and panels and labels, all these are little pieces of JavaScript that render all these widgets on screen, and this tool is what it's called, the Dojo toolkit. And this version of Studio is using version 1.6, and it would be great if we could find some support to get this upgraded to version 1.1, or 1.10, or I think these guys are still developing version 2.0, but I think it's in an early beta. So that's what Dojo is. It's just a set of tools and widgets that you use for grids, selection, drop down, checkboxes, and all that. Now in the Java side, which is also on the server, MariaDB. This is probably pretty much the standard for becoming the standard for databases for the web. MariaDB or MySQL. MySQL is managed by Oracle, so MariaDB is still a free and open standard that we have. So it's a database I recommend. And Hibernate is a set of tools that allow Java to work with MariaDB easier, because it's like a translational software, or it's actually called object relational mapping. So Hibernate sits in middle of the database and Java, and it really makes querying and making the applications in Studio really easy and very convenient. So this is the first module of what I would like to get you guys started to learn about these things. I'm pretty sure that a lot of you guys, this might be a little helpful. On the next video, which I'll probably be releasing tomorrow, I'll be going over the database. So my plan here is that I will provide this application. I'll be going step by step on how to create this application, and looking at all the components and all the things that are being rendered. And we'll be doing some Java server-side code, and well, there's a lot of things. Eventually, we'll end up finishing this application using a Jasper report. So it'd be really cool if you guys look at that and give me your comments on the forum. So I invite you guys to join the forum, answer your questions, and I'll be there to give you support with Studio 6.7. And any questions are welcome. Thank you for your attention.